The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with chatter. Aliens of all shapes and sizes filled the room. Some had tentacles, others had multiple eyes, and a few even floated in the air. They were here for an important meeting. At the center of the hall stood Zack 7, the leader of the council. He was tall and blue, with 4 arms and a big head. Zack 7 raised one of his hands, and the room fell silent. "Friends, we are here to talk about a problem," Zack 7 said. His voice was deep and echoed through the hall. "The problem is humans." A low murmur spread across the room. Many aliens nodded their heads or waved their tentacles in agreement. Zack 7 continued. "Humans have joined our galactic community recently. They are strange and unpredictable. But most importantly, they are terrible at war." He waved his hand, and a big screen appeared in the air. It showed pictures of humans doing everyday things: eating, sleeping, working on computers. "Look at them," Zack 7 said. "They are soft and weak. They need sleep every day. They can't even breathe in space without help. How can such creatures be good at fighting?" The aliens in the room laughed. They thought humans were silly and weak. But in a corner of the room, one alien wasn't laughing. This was Kira X, from a race known for being smart. Kira X had studied humans closely. She knew there was more to them than what others saw. Kira X stood up. Her green skin shimmered in the light. "Wait," she said. "I think we're making a mistake. Humans might surprise us." The room went quiet. All eyes turned to Kira X. "Humans may look weak," she said, "but they are clever. They adapt quickly, and they never give up. We shouldn't underestimate them." Zack 7 frowned. He didn't like what Kira X was saying. "Nonsense," he shouted. "Humans are no threat to us. We are stronger, faster, and smarter." Just then, alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed all around the hall. A big screen popped up, showing a map of the galaxy. On the map, a red dot was moving fast. It was heading towards Earth, the human planet. "What is that?" someone yelled. Zack 7 looked worried. "It's the Devourer," he said in a low voice. "A terrible enemy we've been watching for years. And it's heading to Earth." The room erupted in chaos. Aliens were shouting and running around. They knew the Devourer was dangerous. It had destroyed many planets before. "We must warn the humans," Kira X said. "We must help them." But Zack 7 shook his head. "No," he said. "This is a perfect chance to see what humans can do. If they're as weak as we think, the Devourer will destroy them. If not, well, we'll see." Kira X couldn't believe what she was hearing. "But that's cruel," she said. "We can't just let them die." Zack 7 ignored her. He turned to the rest of the council. "We will watch," he said. "We will see if humans are as terrible at war as we think. This will be their test." As the meeting ended, Kira X felt sick. She knew the humans were in great danger, but she also knew something the others didn't. She had seen humans do amazing things when they were in trouble. Maybe, she thought, just maybe, the humans will surprise us all. Maybe they'll show the galaxy what they can really do. As the aliens left the hall, none of them noticed a small device hidden in a corner. It was blinking, sending a secret message to Earth. The humans were about to face their biggest challenge yet, but they wouldn't be completely unprepared. The stage was set. The Devourer was coming. And the humans, they were about to show the galaxy why you should never underestimate them. On Earth, it was a normal day. People were going about their lives, unaware of the danger coming their way. In a secret underground base, however, things were different. General Sarah Chen stood in front of a large screen. She was tall, with short black hair and a serious face. The screen showed a blinking red dot moving towards Earth. "What is that thing?" she asked, pointing at the dot. Dr. Alex Rodriguez, the chief scientist, looked worried. "We don't know exactly," he said. but the message we got from our secret friend in the Galactic Council calls it the Devourer. It's destroyed many planets before. Sarah's face got even more serious. How long do we have? 3 days, Alex replied. Sarah turned to the room full of military leaders and scientists. Okay, people, we have 3 days to prepare for the biggest fight of our lives. Any ideas? The room was quiet. Everyone looked scared. Then a young woman stood up. This was Captain Emily Wong, known for her crazy but effective plans. I have an idea, Emily said, but you're going to think I'm nuts. Sarah nodded. Go on. Emily walked to the front of the room. We can't beat this thing with normal weapons, she said. We need to think differently. We need to use what makes us human. She pointed to her head. Our brains, our creativity, our ability to do crazy things when we're scared. The room was silent. Then someone laughed. You want us to beat an alien destroyer with creativity? Emily smiled. Exactly. They think we're weak. Let's prove them wrong. For the next hour, Emily explained her plan. It was wild. It was dangerous. It might not work. But as she talked, people started to nod. Maybe, just maybe, it could work. Sarah listened carefully. When Emily finished, the general stood up. It's crazy, she said, but it might be crazy enough to work. Let's do it. For the next 2 days, Earth was busy, but not in the way you'd expect for a planet preparing for war. Instead of building weapons, they were building other things, strange things, things that made no sense if you didn't know the plan. In New York, they painted the entire city in bright colors. In the Sahara Desert, they built a giant sculpture out of sand. In the Pacific Ocean, they created a massive floating artwork. All around the world, people were creating, painting, building, singing, dancing. It looked like the whole planet had gone mad. The aliens watching from space were confused. What are they doing? Zach 7 asked, watching the strange activities on Earth. Have they gone crazy with fear? Kira X watched too, but she was smiling. No, she said quietly. I think they have a plan. On the last night before the Devourer would arrive, Sarah stood on top of a hill, looking at the sky. The stars were bright. Somewhere up there, the enemy was coming. Alex stood next to her. Do you think this will work? He asked. Sarah sighed. I don't know, she said, but it's the best chance we got. She looked at her watch. It's time, she said. She picked up her radio. This is General Chen. Operation Creativity is go. I repeat, Operation Creativity is go. All around the world, lights started to turn on. Music began to play. And in space, watching from their ships, the aliens gasped. Earth was transforming. It wasn't just a planet anymore. It was becoming the biggest, strangest, most beautiful work of art the galaxy had ever seen. And as the Devourer approached, drawn by the incredible display of light and sound and color, the humans waited. Their trap was set. Now they would show the galaxy what humans could really do when pushed to their limits. The greatest battle in Earth's history was about to begin, and it would be like no battle anyone had ever seen before. While the world outside buzzed with activity, deep underground, a different kind of preparation was happening. In a secret base beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Sarah Chen walked through busy hallways. People ran back and forth, carrying strange objects and talking quickly. Sarah entered a large room filled with screens and machines. In the center stood Captain Emily Wong, surrounded by a group of people. They were all wearing lab coats, but they didn't look like normal scientists. One had paint all over his hands. Another was covered in glitter. A third was holding what looked like a giant bubble wand. Report, Sarah said, walking up to the group. Emily grinned. Her usual neat uniform was splattered with colors. Phase 1 is complete, General. The Devourer is following our light show. Now for Phase 2. She pointed to a big screen. It showed a map of the solar system. A red dot was moving towards Earth, just as they had planned. Excellent, Sarah nodded. And the secret weapon? Almost ready, Emily said. She led Sarah to a corner of the room. There, behind a curtain, was something huge covered by a tarp. Emily pulled off the tarp. Sarah's eyes went wide. Is that? Yep, Emily said proudly. The biggest disco ball ever made. And it's not just for show. Sarah looked closer. The disco ball was covered in tiny mirrors, each one moving slightly. Are those? Yep, Emily said again. Each mirror is actually a tiny laser. When we turn this on, it'll look like the biggest party in the universe. But really, it's a weapon. Sarah finished. She smiled. Brilliant. The devourer won't know what hit it. Just then, Dr. Alex Rodriguez burst into the room. He was out of breath and looked excited. General, Captain, you need to see this. They followed Alex to another room. This one was filled with musical instruments, but they looked strange. Guitars with extra strings, drums that glowed, a piano that seemed to float in the air. What is all this? Sarah asked. Alex beamed. Remember how we thought sound might affect the devourer? Well, we've created instruments that can produce sounds no one has ever heard before. Sounds that can confuse, disorient, even hurt the devourer. Emily picked up one of the guitars. She strummed it, and everyone in the room felt a strange vibration. It wasn't painful, but it made them feel odd. Whoa, Emily said, putting down the guitar quickly. That's intense. Sarah looked around the room, taking it all in. So let me get this straight. We're going to fight an alien threat that has destroyed entire planets, with a giant disco ball and weird music. Alex and Emily looked at each other, then back at Sarah. Yes, they said together. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she laughed. It's completely crazy. I love it. Just then, an alarm started beeping. Everyone turned to look at the main screen. The red dot representing the devourer was getting closer. It's almost here, Alex said, his voice shaking a little. Sarah straightened up. She looked at the room full of scientists, artists, and soldiers. They were an odd bunch, but they were humanity's best hope. All right, people, she said. This is it, the moment we've been preparing for. The devourer thinks it's coming to an easy meal. Instead, it's walking into the biggest, weirdest trap ever set. Let's show this alien what humans can do. A cheer went up from the room. People rushed to their stations. Musicians picked up their strange instruments. Technicians started powering up the giant disco ball. As Sarah watched, she felt a mix of fear and pride. They were about to attempt something no one had ever tried before. It might not work. They might all die. But if it did work, get ready, she said into her radio. Operation Party Crusher is about to begin. All around the world, hidden speakers and light systems powered up. The trap was set. Now all they had to do was spring it. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and the greatest show in the history of the galaxy was about to begin. The sky turned dark as the devourer entered Earth's atmosphere. It was huge, like a city floating in the air. Its surface was black and seemed to swallow light. People all over the world looked up and felt afraid. In the secret base, General Sarah Chen watched on the big screen. It's time, she said. She picked up a microphone. This is General Chen. Operation Party Crusher is go. I repeat, Operation Party Crusher is go. Suddenly, the whole world lit up. Every city, every town, every village turned on their lights. The oceans glowed with special lights placed underwater. Even the desert sparkled with hidden lamps. The devourer paused. This was not what it expected. Usually, planets went dark when it arrived, as people hid in fear. But this planet was shining brighter than ever. In space, the alien watchers were confused. What are they doing? Zach 7 asked. Don't they know they're about to be destroyed? Kira X watched closely. I think, she said slowly, they're fighting back. In their own way. On Earth, the next phase began. The giant disco ball rose from its hidden base in the mountains. It was as big as a football field and covered in millions of tiny mirrors. As it spun, it shot beams of light in all directions. The devourer moved towards the disco ball, drawn by its brightness. That's when the humans sprang their trap. All at once, the mirrors on the disco ball turned. Now, instead of reflecting light, they were focusing it. Millions of laser beams hit the devourer at the same time. The alien ship shuddered. It had never felt anything like this before. The lasers weren't strong enough to destroy it, but they were confusing its sensors. Now, Sarah shouted into her microphone. All over the world, people picked up their instruments. The weird guitars, the glowing drums, the floating pianos. They all started to play. The sound was like nothing anyone had ever heard before. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. It made people's teeth vibrate and their hair stand on end. For the devourer, it was much worse. The strange music interfered with its systems. It couldn't think straight. It couldn't move right. In space, the alien watchers were amazed. What is happening? Zach 7 shouted. How are they doing this? Kira X was smiling now. They're using creativity as a weapon, she said. It's brilliant. The devourer tried to fight back. It shot energy beams at the Earth. But the humans were ready. They had built special shields that looked like giant soap bubbles. When the devourer's beams hit them, they didn't pop. Instead, they absorbed the energy and glowed brighter. For hours, the battle raged. The devourer tried everything it knew. But every time it attacked, the humans had a strange, creative defense ready. In the secret base, Sarah watched the battle with pride. Look at that, she said to Emily and Alex. We're actually doing it. We're holding our ground. Emily nodded, her hand still on her weird guitar. But we can't keep this up forever, she said. We need to find a way to drive it off for good. Alex was typing furiously on a computer. I think I have an idea, he said. But it's risky. Really risky. Sarah looked at the screen. The devourer was still there, confused but dangerous. Tell me, she said. As Alex explained his plan, Sarah's eyes got wider. It was crazy. It was dangerous. It might not work. But as she looked at the devourer on the screen, she knew they had to try. Do it, she said. Alex nodded and started typing even faster. The final phase of the battle was about to begin. And if it worked, the devourer, and the whole galaxy, would never underestimate humans again. As the battle raged on, Dr. Alex Rodriguez's fingers flew over his keyboard. His new plan was risky, but it might be their only chance to defeat the devourer for good. Okay, Alex said, looking up from his computer. I figured out how to hack into the devourer's systems. General Sarah Chen and Captain Emily Wong looked at him in surprise. How? Sarah asked. Alex grinned. Remember all those cat videos we beamed into space as part of our distraction? Well, I hid a special code in them. The devourer's computers are trying to understand the videos, and that's letting my code sneak in. Emily laughed. You're telling me we're hacking an alien superweapon with cat videos? Exactly, Alex said. But here's the risky part. To fully take control, we need to get closer. Much closer. Sarah's face turned serious. How close? Alex took a deep breath. We need to fly a ship right up to the devourer. Close enough to touch it. The room went quiet. Flying that close to the devourer was almost certain death. But if it worked... Sarah nodded slowly. I'll do it. No, Emily said, standing up. I'll go. I'm the best pilot we have. For a moment, Sarah looked like she might argue. Then she nodded. All right. But you're not going alone. I'm coming with you. As Sarah and Emily prepared for their dangerous mission, the battle outside continued. The devourer was getting frustrated. It had never faced an enemy like this before. Every time it thought it had the humans beat, They surprised it with something new. In space, the alien watchers were amazed. Zach 7 couldn't believe his eyes. "How are they doing this?" he muttered. "They're just humans." Kira X smiled. "That's exactly why they're winning," she said. "They're human. They're creative, adaptable, and they never give up." Back on Earth, Sarah and Emily climbed into a small spaceship. It was painted in bright colors and covered in flashing lights. The perfect disguise for sneaking up on the Devourer. "Ready?" Sarah asked as they prepared for takeoff. Emily nodded, her hands steady on the controls. "Let's show this alien what humans can really do." The ship shot into the sky, heading straight for the Devourer. On the ground, Alex watched nervously. "Remember," he said through the radio, "you need to get within 10 meters of the Devourer for the hack to work." "Copy that," Emily said. She flew the ship in a wild, unpredictable pattern, dodging the Devourer's attacks. As they got closer, Sarah gasped. The Devourer was even bigger up close. Its surface seemed to swallow light, making it hard to judge distances. "Almost there," Emily said through gritted teeth. The ship shook as energy beams passed close by. Suddenly, a beam hit them. The ship spun out of control. "We're hit," Sarah yelled. Emily fought with the controls. Come on," she muttered. For a heart-stopping moment, it looked like they would crash into the Devourer. Then, at the last second, Emily regained control. The ship steadied, floating just meters from the alien vessel. "We did it," Emily shouted. "Quick, Alex, start the hack," Sarah ordered into her radio. Back in the base, Alex's fingers blurred over his keyboard. "Hacking now," he said. "It's working. It's working." On the Devourer's surface, strange things started to happen. Lights flickered on and off. Parts of it started to move in odd ways. Inside the alien ship, chaos erupted. Its systems were going haywire. Screens filled with images of cats, interspersed with lines of human code. In the watching alien ships, Zach 7 couldn't believe what he was seeing. They've taken control of the Devourer," he said in awe. Kira X laughed. "I told you not to underestimate humans," she said. As the hack completed, the Devourer started to move. But now, it wasn't moving to attack Earth. Instead, it was turning away, heading back into space. In their small ship, Sarah and Emily cheered. They had done it. They had beaten the unbeatable enemy. As they flew back to Earth, Sarah looked out at the stars. "You know," she said, "I think the galaxy is in for a big surprise." Emily nodded. "Yeah," she said with a grin. "They thought humans were terrible at war. Wait until they see what we can do in peace." The celebration on Earth was short-lived. Just as people began to relax, thinking the danger was over, alarms blared once again in the secret base. Dr. Alex Rodriguez's face went pale as he stared at his computer screen. "General Chen," he shouted. "The Devourer. It's coming back." General Sarah Chen rushed to his side. Captain Emily Wong close behind. On the screen, they could see the massive alien ship turning around, heading back towards Earth. "But how?" Emily asked. "We hacked it. We sent it away." Alex typed furiously. "It looks like the Devourer had a backup system. It's fighting our control." Sarah's face hardened. So this is it, the final battle. She turned to face the room full of scientists, soldiers, and artists. "Listen up, everyone. The Devourer is coming back, and this time, it's angry. We need every idea, every trick, every crazy plan you can think of. Our planet depends on it." As the team brainstormed, the alien watchers in space were in shock. Zach 7 couldn't believe his eyes. They actually hurt the Devourer. How is this possible? Kira X watched the humans with growing respect. "They're not giving up," she said. "Look at them. They're preparing to fight again." Back on Earth, ideas were flying. Emily suggested using the giant disco ball as a massive magnifying glass to focus sunlight on the Devourer. Alex proposed hacking Earth's satellites to create a net of lasers in space. But it was a young artist named Maya who came up with the craziest idea yet. What if, she said, we turned the whole Earth into a speaker? Everyone stared at her. What do you mean? Sarah asked. Maya explained excitedly. We know the Devourer is sensitive to our weird music, right? So what if we use the Earth itself to make the biggest, weirdest sound ever? It was crazy. It was impossible. But as the team looked at each other, they realized it might just work. For the next few hours, the whole world worked together like never before. Engineers rigged up massive vibration devices. Musicians composed a song that used the frequencies of the whole planet. Artists designed patterns that, when viewed from space, would mess with the Devourer's visual sensors. As the alien ship approached, Earth was ready. Sarah stood in the control room, her hand on the big red button that would start it all. On my mark, she said into the global communication system. 3, 2, 1. Now. She slammed her hand down on the button. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly at first but quickly building, a sound began to rise. It wasn't just a sound. It was as if the whole planet was humming, singing, shouting all at once. In space, the alien watchers clapped their hands, or tentacles, over their ears. What is that noise? Zach 7 shouted. Kara X, despite her discomfort, was smiling. It's humanity, she said. All of it, all at once. The Devourer approached Earth, ready to attack. But as it got closer, strange things began to happen. Its sensors went crazy, overloaded by the massive audiovisual assault from the planet below. The giant alien ship began to shake. Parts of it started to break off, unable to hold together under the onslaught of sound and light. In the control room, Sarah, Emily, and Alex watched in awe as their plan worked. The Devourer was falling apart right before their eyes. It's working, Emily shouted over the noise. We're actually doing it. As the last pieces of the Devourer broke apart, a cheer went up around the world. Humans had done the impossible. They had defeated an enemy that had destroyed countless other civilizations. In space, the watching aliens were silent with shock. Then, slowly, Zach 7 began to laugh. Well, he said, turning to Kara X, I guess we were wrong about humans being terrible at war. Kara X nodded. Yes, she said, but I think we were wrong about a lot of things when it comes to humans. As the celebration on Earth continued, Sarah looked out at the stars. You know, she said to Emily and Alex, I think this is just the beginning. The galaxy's not going to know what hit it. Emily grinned. Yeah, she said. First, we show them we can fight. Next, we'll show them how we party. The three friends laughed, looking forward to the adventures that lay ahead. Humanity had proved itself, and the whole universe was about to find out just what humans were capable of. 1 year had passed since the defeat of the Devourer. Earth had changed a lot in that time. The planet was no longer just a small blue dot in the galaxy. Now, it was a bright beacon of creativity and innovation. General Sarah Chen stood on a platform in New York City. Next to her were Captain Emily Wong and Dr. Alex Rodriguez. They were waiting for something big. Suddenly, the sky lit up. A massive spaceship appeared, bigger than anything humans had ever built before. But this wasn't an enemy ship. It was the first human-built galactic cruiser, the HMS Creativity. As the ship landed, cheers erupted from the crowd. Sarah smiled. Can you believe it? She said to her friends, a year ago, we were fighting for our lives. Now we're about to join the galactic community. Emily grinned. Yeah, and we're doing it in style. Wait until they see what this ship can do. The HMS Creativity wasn't just a spaceship. It was a moving art piece, a concert hall, and a science lab all in one. It represented everything that had helped humanity defeat the Devourer. As the ship's doors opened, a group of aliens walked out. Leading them was Kara X, the alien who had believed in humans from the start. Welcome to Earth, Sarah said, stepping forward to greet them. Kira X smiled. "Thank you, General Chen. The Galactic Council is excited to finally meet humanity officially." As they talked, Alex nudged Emily. "Look," he whispered, pointing to the sky. Above them, the stars were changing. New constellations were forming, spelling out words in different alien languages. It was Earth's way of saying hello to the galaxy. "Wow," one of the alien visitors said. "How are you doing that?" Emily winked. "Trade secret, but if you stick around, we might teach you." The aliens looked at each other in surprise. Usually, advanced species kept their technology secret, but humans seemed eager to share. As the day went on, the aliens saw more and more of what made humans special. They visited the giant disco ball, now a space station orbiting Earth. They heard concerts where instruments from 100 worlds played together in harmony. They saw art that combined styles from across the galaxy. At the end of the day, Kira X turned to Sarah. "I must say, General, you humans continue to surprise us. The galaxy has never seen anything like you before." Sarah nodded. "We're not perfect," she said. "We make mistakes. We argue. Sometimes we even fight. But we also create, explore, and never stop trying to be better." Just then, a young human child ran up to one of the aliens. Instead of being scared, the child offered the alien a flower. The alien, touched by this simple act of kindness, accepted it with tears in its eyes. Kira X watched this with a smile. "You know," she said, "I think the galaxy needed humans. We had forgotten how to wonder, how to create just for the joy of it. You remind us of what's truly important." As the sun set, the HMS Creativity prepared for its first journey into deep space. Humans from all over the world watched as their representatives boarded the ship, ready to explore the galaxy. Sarah, Emily, and Alex stood together, watching the ship take off. "So," Emily said, "what do you think we'll find out there?" Alex shrugged. "New challenges, probably. Maybe even new threats." Sarah nodded. "Probably. But you know what? I'm not worried. Because whatever we find, we'll face it the way we always do." "How's that?" Emily asked. Sarah grinned. "Together. With creativity, courage, and a whole lot of weird ideas." As the ship disappeared into the stars, the three friends looked up at the sky. The galaxy was vast and full of unknowns, but humanity was ready. They had proved they weren't terrible at war. Now, they were eager to show the galaxy what they could do in peace. The adventure was just beginning.